Welcome to the Owning Your Sexual Self podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Main, awesome wife and dog mom for life. I'm a sex therapist turned sex coach, and I run a successful business selling relationship enhancement products. I absolutely love talking about all things sex. So you can expect this podcast to explore all things related to women's sexual health because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you discover and embrace what brings you pleasure so that you can own your sexual self. If that sounds good to you, then keep listening and let's fucking do this. Hello, everyone. Okay, so this episode is sparked from honestly just like a lot of questions that I get from people, whether it's not at the parties that I do, in my DMs, people that I meet out and about, like all kinds of stuff. Of course, Bane is now going to start playing with his toy. Dogs are in the office with me today. Okay. So this question of how to pick a sex toy, like how do I even know where to start, especially if you're somebody that is brand new to the sex toy space. Oh my gosh, I feel so weird saying sex toy. I just recorded a ton of TikToks and you can't say words on, I can't say clitoris or penis or like so stupid how they just like censor you on social media platforms. So yeah, it just feels weird saying these words right now, but I have to remember, Rachel, you're on your podcast. You can say whatever the fuck you want. So anyways, if you're new to this buying a sex toy thing, again, so if you've never had a sex toy before, or maybe you have one and you're like, this is not for me. This is just not working. This is not doing what I thought it was going to do. Or, ooh, better yet, maybe your partner bought you a sex toy. This is always my favorite, especially when I'm working with female clients whose partners do this. Like, first off, men, like, bless your hearts for taking the initiative. Like, I'm so happy to hear that you are forthcoming with this and have that open mind and want to use toys in the bedroom, because there's a lot of men out there that don't or have a problem with this. So kudos to you for being mature enough to want to use toys in the bedroom. But listen, the toys that you think your partner is going to like is likely not the toy that she's going to like or enjoy the most. And I hope that makes sense. I hope that doesn't come off the wrong way, but it's so funny to me. I can't tell you how many times I've been on Zoom and my female clients would be like, yeah, my partner got me, got us some sex toys. Us, I use us in air quotes. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so I always do like sex toy show and tell with clients. And I'm like, all right, what do you got, girl? Like, what you working with? And then I can say, okay, this is what's missing from your toy repertoire, or tell me what you like about these things. I can ask those clarifying questions, but they'll come and they'll show me these just huge ass dildos, like straight up dildos. Usually they don't vibrate. That's a theme that I've seen. Usually they don't vibrate, or if they do vibrate, it's just like this straight penis shaped thing. And also, it's generally not something that is bigger than their penis. Take what you want with that. But that's usually the toys that the men are picking out for the women. And I want to say that, again, I've been in the sex toy slinging industry. Yeah, slinging my sex toys for over 8 years now. And I'm going to tell you, the top selling category of toys that I have is clitoral toys. And if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that, over 85% of women need clitoral stimulation to achieve an orgasm. Only about 20% of women are going to orgasm from vaginal penetration. So when you're thinking about what kind of sex toy you want to bring in the bedroom, ask yourself first, how do I experience pleasure? And if you don't yet have the answer to that question, I'm going to actually encourage you to explore with yourself, first with your hands, instead of going right in and jumping to a toy, because I do believe that there is so much power behind women having this mind-body connection with herself. And so having that stimulation and having that pleasure given to yourself by yourself with having no other factors involved is really, I think, a foundational experience for women to have. So if you want to actually go over to my website, go to rachelmaine.com. Under the resources tab, you're going to see my self-pleasure guide. And when you get this, you're going to get both the guide and also my self-pleasure meditation. And so with this guide is going to give you the step-by-step of how to experience pleasure without any, again, without any toys or anything like that. Now you can still use lubricants and maybe I would say even creams if you wanted to, but really I'm going to say, like, if it's just you, your hand, your lube, your lingerie, your sexy candle, your sexy textures, nice sex playlist going on, like that's where I'm going to recommend to start. And that guide is going to walk you through exactly how to do it, step by step. And again, I highly recommend this, especially if it's your first time. Like, again, I can't tell you the amount of women that are like, I've never pleasured myself. I've never done this before. I've never owned a toy, and I want to normalize that. It is okay that you haven't, and it's also okay that you want to, or that you're curious about exploring this. So start again first with that person to person stimulation to figure out what does feel good to you. If you are giving yourself pressure to the clitoral area and that feels good to you, and also to say, like, this isn't just push on it once and if nothing happens, move on to the next area. Like, really spend some time with yourself. Spend some time with yourself beforehand, kind of getting yourself in that erotic mindset. So that's why I mentioned the setting the mood for yourself, having that sexy playlist. Maybe you listen to some erotica. The Balesa podcast is my favorite, or Lala's Bedtime Tales. That's another great resource for you to listen to some erotica. Maybe you want to watch porn if you're into that, but get yourself in that pleasure space, in that space that feels safe for you to experience pleasure. So if you're enjoying that clitoral stimulation, or even if you have had an orgasm before and you feel like it's been from the clitoris, I would say then start with a clitoral toy. Now, if you are doing this pleasure play by yourself with your hand, and let's say you go for some vaginal stimulation, you insert a finger or two. That's why I said get your lubricant. Make sure you're using lubricant. You're inserting that finger and feeling around there. How does that feel? Is if you put that pressure upwards, if you give that come here motion once those fingers are inside and you're exploring your G spot, how does that feel? So again, this is why I say, like, do this experiment experiment with yourself first before jumping in and spending a ton of money on sex toys that you might not actually end up liking. And I also say this because, what I don't want to happen is, again, if you're new to this area, I don't want you going out there and buying the biggest, baddest, longest, most bells and whistles type of toy. That's probably not the best start for you. I would actually recommend, if you are very new to this, I'm going to recommend that you start with something like a bullet, something that is for external play. So either a bullet or a wand. Personally, I am bigger fan of wand type vibrators because they are certainly more versatile than a bullet. So bullets, typically you have a cord attached to them, and you don't want to insert bullets vaginally because of that cord, because you risk the electrocution thing. So be cautious of that. But most of these toys that are wands, either the battery pack is going to be not going inside of you, or really my not best tip, but good tip is to get something that's USB rechargeable. I think you're going to have much better luck using something that is USB rechargeable versus battery operated. So if you are, again, so if you are in, okay, so if you're new, or if you already know that you love clitoral stimulation and that is already how you orgasm and that's what feels best to you, you must, yes, you must have a clitoral toy in your toy box. Okay. So I love the wands because, again, they're typically, depending on the size, there's something that you can use internally or externally. They're great to use with a partner. I will link my product store in the show notes here. Of course, if you follow me on any social media, it'll also be in the link in my bio. So whatever is easiest for you to access this. But I am partnered with the company Pure Romance. And so I have my own product store, my own storefront, to where you can actually shop my products. And so these are products that I've been using personally for, well over 15 years now, pretty much since I've been 18. And I love these toys. I've explored a little bit more recently in the crystal world with dildos and wands and things like that, and yoni eggs. You've probably heard me talk about this before. And I'm definitely a fan of those. So I'll get into that a little bit more. I would say, there's a big difference between a vibrator and a toy that does not vibrate, essentially a dildo. But I don't really care for the word dildo, honestly. So I don't use it often. So questions. Okay, so back to this. So figuring out what type of pleasure you like and then exploring toys within that realm. So when you go to a sex shop or you go to my website, you're going to see the category of sex toys, right? So you have clitoral toys, you have C-rings, you have toys that can slip on a tongue to give tickling sensation. You have internal toys, you have dual action toys, you have anal toys, right? You have all of these different toys. And then when you look in the clitoral category, you're like, okay, you have this one that's like a tickler. You have this one that's going to be a constant contact. It's more of like a flat edge. You have this one that sucks and blows and what the fuck, right? So you have all these different options. Same thing when you're looking at the vaginal toys. You have vaginal toys that are going to be more firm and stiff inside. You have some that are going to be more flexible in the shaft. You have some that are glass, some that are silicone, some that have ball bearings inside that spin around and give you a vaginal massage, some that thrust, right? Like there are so many to choose from. So again, this is why I'm saying, like, start off with a wand. Start off with a basic wand massager. The one that I have talked about over and over again. Again, my personal favorite is called Opening Act. It is USB rechargeable. It is submergible underwater. It has 30 different functions for it. This is another thing. Functions of the toy is maybe something that you want to check out because it's going to be cool for you to learn for yourself. Do you like the constant contact type of vibration, or do you like things that are more pulsating, right? Like the revving or the teasing types of vibration. So those are important to ask yourself too. And again, if you don't know, another great reason why Opening Act would be a good option for you because it has 30 different options to choose from. So you really get to figure it out. So then let's see. Now, if you are someone that is wanting to explore internal play, again, those ones that I was mentioning that have like all the bells and whistles, it thrusts, it spins, all of that, I still would recommend starting with something that is a little bit more basic. Now, if you already, let's say, if you're a person that knows that you like clitoral stimulation, then you might want to go with something that is more dual action. So that's going to mean that it has a part that's going to go inside the vagina, and then there's like a second smaller little arm that comes out, and then that is going to give you the clitoral stimulation. So that would be considered a dual action vibrator. You're getting vaginal and clitoral stimulation at the same time. Again, if you're someone that knows already that you like clitoral stimulation, that could be a good type of toy to go with to start off with exploring that internal play. If you are like, I'm not sure, or maybe you want to challenge yourself, like you heard me say in the beginning here, 20% of women orgasm from vaginal penetration. Maybe you're like, I am determined. I want to figure this out. I want to be able to have more vaginal orgasms. Which you definitely can, right? We can train our body to orgasm in different ways. It's very fascinating, actually. So maybe you want to get something that is just straight. So something that maybe is straight but has a little bit of a curve to it because that is going to be hitting more of your G-spot access, which again, that's a whole nother category I didn't even mention earlier when I was going through all of them. There's G-spot type of toys. Those are the ones that have the little hook or the curve at the end to curve up and hit that G-spot area. Okay, so we talked about speeds, we talked about types. Ooh, okay, so let's go into different textures of toys. So if you've ever been in a sex shop or you've seen toys online, you probably can notice based on what they look like, or if you're in person, you can feel them, how the toy is going to feel inside. So I would actually recommend that if you have a lubricant, especially if you're a person that's using lubricant, which you definitely should be, to apply lubricant right to your hand. Like basically make an O with your index finger and your thumb, make an O shape, and basically make a fist. And then put lubricant right there over that little opening. And then take the toys and stick them in there to see how this feels. Now, this, again, I do parties for women where I get to demonstrate toys and things like that. So this becomes easier to do in those situations because I have demos and all that stuff for people to do this. So but that is essentially how that is going to feel inside the vagina. So there is a type of silicone that is more of like a jelly type of silicone. I'm not a huge fan of that silicone. That is the silicone that when you've been told in the past not to store your toys together or not to use silicone lubricant with your toys, that is in reference to that type of silicone. The silicone lubricant eats away at the material of that toy. That toy is going to break down quicker because of that type of silicone. When toys break down like that, you get crevices inside, which then, if you're continuing to use the toy, can cause infection, yeast infections, UTIs, bladders infections, things like that. So I'm not a huge fan of those type of toys. We in our company carry a few like that, and when people come into my shopping room and they want to order them, I'm like, tell me why, because I can give you something much better for just a couple more bucks, and it is going to be totally worth it. So the other type of silicone, like I mentioned, that most of our toys are food grade silicone. And you'll notice, like, if you feel them in person, they're going to have that more velvety, soft texture to them. These are easier to clean. They are way more durable. I mean, food grade silicone, right? Like, this is what your children's bowls and cups and things are made out of. So if we can eat off of them, they're going to be safe to go in and out of our vagina. So food grade silicone is really my personal favorite. A bonus to this too is that it will warm up to your body temperature. And so when you have that warmth to the area that you're stimulating, that's going to help increase your blood flow. And increased blood flow is actually what happens when you achieve an orgasm. So food grade silicone, or that softer, good grade silicone, is my favorite. Some toys might even be made of medical grade silicone. You know, when you're purchasing, you will be able to read underneath the description, and it should be telling you what it's made out of. If it doesn't, please do not shop from that site because you don't know what you're getting, really. And then you have, glass dildos or crystal wands and things like that. These are a whole different ball game. Like, these are not going to, obviously, not going to be flexible. They're fun because you can actually do temperature play with them. So you can run them under cold or warm water to change the sensation. I have a few of these myself, and I actually love to run them under that warm water before using them for my play, because it's just, I don't know, just cozy vibes. I don't really want a cold, dildo going inside me or on my body. It reminds me of being at the gynecologist. So I would recommend warming them up if you have one of those. And also, again, so not flexible, and they're not going to vibrate. So in my experience of using these types of toys, it is definitely different. It takes me a little bit longer to achieve an orgasm. However, it is more, I use these more for my spiritual pleasure sessions. So when I'm really trying to set intentions, when I'm using them for a guided practice or healing practice, I am very strategic on which of my wands I'm using based on what the crystal it is. So again, I order those from chakrubs.com. I'm not affiliated with Chakrubs at all. Hopefully one day because I love them so much. But I have a clear quartz yoni egg. I have a rose quartz slim wand. And then I also have the orange adventuring slim wand as well. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I get the black obsidian wand for a Christmas present from somebody, because I put it on my Christmas list this year. That's not weird, right? Getting a crystal wand from family member for Christmas. They know me. They know what I do. It's not weird. Okay, so that is going to be a big difference. So texture is going to be a big play. Vibrations is going to be a big play. And again, all of the extra things like the bells and whistles. So the ones that suck and blow and spin and thrust and all of that, those are, I'm going to say, get those toys once you have some experience under your belt. Again, I wouldn't really start with those toys because I just wouldn't. In my professional opinion, I wouldn't start with those toys. But if you've already had experience in using toys, I would say yes, those are super fun to be able to add and to have as options when you are playing. And then, okay, another question I just thought of to ask yourself when you're picking a sex toy. How do you want to use the sex toy? Are you only wanting to use this solo, or are you wanting to use it with a partner? If you're wanting to also use it with a partner, are you wanting to use it during foreplay, or are you wanting to use it during foreplay and sex? So this is important for you to ask because, some of these toys, they might be better suited just for solo play, or maybe you want a vibrator that is just for you, right? It's like your little special vibrator. It's the one you take on vacations with you, and all of that. Or maybe you love it so much you're like, yes, I want it all the time in every sexual experience. Now, let's say if you're wanting a toy that you can use together during sex and foreplay and like all of the above. Going back to my original recommendation of getting a wand, wands are such a great toy to have in the bedroom with partner play to be able to add clitoral stimulation to those different sex positions where you're not getting clitoral stimulation. Because again, most women need that to achieve an orgasm. So if you're in doggy style, right, or if you're flat on your back, you're in any sort of from behind position, anal play even, having a wand or something vibrating on your clitoris is going to be very helpful for you. It's the clitoris is your happy button. It's going to help physically relax you, and you're adding that pleasurable sensation there for you while things are happening behind you. So again, huge fans of wands. And also C-rings would be another option for you to look in if you're wanting this to be more partnered play. So C-rings are basically a win-win for both people, the person that's wearing the C-ring and the person that is receiving the C-ring. So C-rings are meant to constrict blood flow to penises, so it's going to make them stay harder longer. And then there are some that have 2 rings that the second ring, the outer ring, is going to wrap around the balls, pushing up against the man's perineum. And that's basically right, the prostate sits right behind there. So that's super stimulating for them. That constriction is helpful for both of you, right? Them staying harder longer, lasting longer. And then generally they have some sort of amazing clitoral component to it, to where you are going to get all of that clitoral sensation, vibration, all of the things to that area that you really want. So I just actually talked about this in social media the other day in one of my reels or TikToks, wherever you follow me. If you're not achieving an orgasm during sex, for women that are listening, it could mean it's because your clitoris is not getting any sort of stimulation or not getting the stimulation that it needs. So adding wands, adding C-rings to your partnered play is going to be your best bet for being able to get to that orgasm that you're so likely craving. All right, now lastly, a category that we didn't talk about much yet, but would be anal toys. So you have butt plugs, you have anal beads, you have glass plugs, you have metal plugs, you have some that have feathers on the ends of them. Like, there again, so many things to choose from this. If you are new from this or for this, to this, rather, if you are new to anal play, is what I'm trying to say here, I would, again, not start with the biggest thing that is out there or the thing that has the most bells and whistles. I would recommend starting with a smaller butt plug. So if you look at the size of your thumb, generally a butt plug that I would recommend starting with is going to be you want it to be a little bit bigger / longer than your thumb. Because when it comes to anal play, what I recommend is first just starting with pressure to that area, then move to finger, then move to thumb. And then once you are comfortable with that, then you can move to your plug that is going to be a little bit larger than your thumb. So you see, you want to like graduate up to the next bigger thing. And this is a great way for people that are actually wanting to try anal sex. Starting with plugs is a great way for you to get comfortable experimenting with anal play and then move into, anal play with a partner. So something that's a little bit bigger than your thumb. Now, I've heard from so many people like butt plugs that vibrate can be intimidating or scary, but I want to actually tell you the vibration on a butt plug actually helps to relax the sphincter muscles. And so when you are inserting or removing that toy, it is much more enjoyable for you actually to have that vibration occurring versus not. And I also want to say, if you're using it something that vibrates, turn on the vibration before inserting the toy. I don't want you to be sitting there with this toy inside of you, wondering when the hell your partner is going to turn it on. It's like if you've ever been to Cedar Point at that ride called the Power Tower, where you're sitting up there at the top and you know it's going to drop, but you don't know when it's going to drop. And then the person on the bottom like hits the button and it like starts pulsing, and it's like freaking you out. When is this thing going to drop? And then boom, all of a sudden it drops. Like, I don't want you to have that experience during anal play. So start with the vibration on. Again, it helps relax the muscles. And, your body is also trained to feel and think pleasure when it feels vibration. And that's whether or not you're sitting in a massage chair at the mall or when you're getting your pedicures done, right? Like vibration, the body knows to feel pleasure. So that is, let's see, did I cover everything? We talked anal play. We talked different clitoral toys, what to look for when you're purchasing toys. I feel like we covered a lot. Really, I went into this blind. I should have maybe wrote out an agenda for you, but this is something that I can talk about all day, every day. It's pretty easy. Pretty easy for me. This is part of my job, what I do, helping people pick out sex toys all the time. So yeah, asking yourself, how do you like to receive pleasure? Maybe what are you curious on exploring more of? And what is the type of texture that might, after listening to this, seems the most enticing to you? I would start with those things. So check out the link in either my bio on social media or in the show notes here. It'll take you to all of the sex toys that we currently have to offer. I'm always open to answering questions to help you with your purchases. And this is my challenge to you. Go out and get a new toy. Treat yourself. Get you something. Currently, I'm recording this on November 3rd, but when you're listening to it, it's going to be sometime after December 5th, 2022. And so it's time, y'all. It is the season of giving, and it is a season of happiness and pleasure and all the fun. So go and grab yourself a new sex toy today. After you got all these great recommendations, go check out your current collection if you have one and see maybe what's missing and what is it that you're wanting to explore next. Have fun with this, guys, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you loved it, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a thing. And if you loved it so fucking much, be sure to leave a 5-star review. I'll see you next week, and until then, keep owning your sexual self.